if I ask people in early recovery, where do you think this is going? Some of them will simply say, well, I'm going to just be able not to use anymore. Now that might be enough of a reason for someone to be on the path just right there, but that won't last, because when that person is able to achieve abstinence, life is going to happen and they're going to become uncomfortable and they're going to revert back to the things that they perceive worked in their memory. They will forget that this led to a lot of pain and suffering. That's called relapse. So doubt is a big thing. And understanding where you're headed is an even bigger thing. So let me tell you where you're headed. Absolute freedom, comfort in your body, management, ability, advanced ability to deal with life, relationships, and the challenges. Joy, love, connection, awareness, more consciousness. This is where you're headed. The things you have always wanted in your life are coming for you if you align to recovery. Welcome. So glad you're here.
Thank you for having me and holding this space. I'm so appreciative, and I have to be careful because I will ramble.
We have something in common.
So I'm trying to see how succinctly I can put this all, but I started listening to your book, and that's what got me all inspired, like just so drawn and to everything that you're doing. And with regards to kind of, I'm at this point where I feel like I can objectively observe my mind and analytically understand, okay, what I'm doing, and even get to that point where I'll pause for a second, but I'll still make the choice, whatever the wrong pill is, whatever I don't know if it's blue or red, I can't remember, but you know, I have the recovery pill or the continued old pattern pill, and I will consciously go for the old pattern pill. And so I think, you know, my ponderings and questions are kind of really like how to move, I guess, away from what you talk about is that frequency of addiction, and I guess more distance from my, like, moving into making the better choice. And so I'm driving too, so I'm not remembering everything that I came up with or was thinking about. But when you were talking about like the relationship with your mind, I think that's really what it's kind of getting down to. And then I was kind of like, well, I think you're telling me I need to get I can't remember what you said, that point where I think probably the somatic and the physical work, I think will probably be really helpful to me. But just, yeah, go ahead. I guess that's kind of the beginning of it. Yeah. The relationship with my mind. Yeah.
Katya, it's so important that you asked this question. Thank you so much for this. I'm going to come back to you in a moment. Okay. So this is a topic that I've actually recently spoken with a Recovery 2.0 team member about, who's on the call here. His name is Fred. Hi, Fred. Nice to see you. There he is, everybody. Let's give it up for Fred. Really. There he is. Yay. So we talk about resistance. We talk about resistance, and I want to address it quickly. This won't be a 50-minute response, but a really, really important inquiry about old patterns versus new patterns, the development of new patterns. What can we do to move firmly into, let's say, a more crystallized sort of state in a new level of consciousness, or have a new routine or a new pattern, have it stick? It's such an important question for people in recovery, because first of all of humanity is struggling with this, but people in recovery have this added sort of problem, and the problem is called self-doubt. We don't actually believe we can be consistent with anything. And because we don't believe it, that adds a really big challenge to overcoming our own resistance and overcoming procrastination and moving into this new this new thing that you've tasted it and you're like, this is good, this is good. I would like to stay here and even move forward even beyond this, but you know me, I typically, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and that's just sort of how I've been, da 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 da. And of course, how any of us have been, how any of us have been, does not tell the story of how we could be. And that is a very, very important thing for all of us to understand. So let's break out of that nonsense right there. I'll say it like this. There are 2 things needed. The scriptures of yoga tell us there are 2 things needed to establish or create a pattern of continual progress, to be successful on the path. The 2 things are in the Sanskrit, abhyasa. So for anyone taking notes or who wants to know, it's ABHYASA. Abhyasa. The second thing is vairagya. 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 Abhyasa and vairagya. Okay. Abhyasa means wholehearted, consistent practice over time. Wholehearted, consistent practice over time. Now, the practice can be simple, especially at the beginning. But the first word is the key. You have to put your whole heart into it. Now, many people, when I ask them in recovery, what do you put your whole heart into? And they say, either they say everything, because I'm an addict and that's what we do, or they say nothing. And I say, well, if you're on the nothing side, you certainly can relate to the idea that when you wanted to get high, you wanted to find your drug of choice, you wanted to overcome that pain and discomfort of your own existence, you were willing to go to any length possible. And not only that, you were creative. Boy, oh boy, I know nothing more creative than an addict seeking out their drug of choice. There's nothing more creative than that. And boy, oh boy, the energy that will be put into that effort is nearly unmatched in the universe. Now we're on the recovery side of things. Okay. Imagine you put that energy of, I have to do this. Even a little bit of that energy is going to get you the most incredible results. So the answer for all of us is, oh, you have put your whole heart into something before. Definitely. And if you're on the side of the person who says, well, I put my whole heart into everything, you might say, well, let's say you put your whole heart into this. What are the challenges? What creates resistance? I'll just address one of the things. Oh, there are countless things that create resistance in us. But one of the things is doubt. I don't believe that this is going to work. I don't believe that this is going to play out well for me. I doubt the process. I doubt the teachers. I doubt the teachings. I doubt the community. I just don't believe it. And let me tell you what, if I don't believe in something, or if I'm not able to suspend temporarily my disbelief, there is exactly 0 chance that I'm going to make any progress on that path. So the first thing any of us need to do is to investigate, do I have doubt in the thing that I'm pursuing? Let's say you don't. I believe in it. Okay? What do you believe in? Where do you think this is going? Are you really clear on it? Because I'll tell you what, in recovery, if I ask people in early recovery, where do you think this is going? Some of them will simply say, well, I'm going to just be able not to use anymore. Now, that might be enough of a reason for someone to be on the path, just right there, but that won't last. Because when that person is able to achieve abstinence, life is going to happen. And they're going to become uncomfortable. And they're going to revert back to the things that they perceive worked in their memory. They will forget that this led to a lot of pain and suffering. That's called relapse. So doubt is a big thing. And understanding where you're headed is an even bigger thing. So let me tell you where you're headed. Absolute freedom. Comfort in your body. Management, ability, advanced ability to deal with life, relationships, and the challenges. Joy, love, connection. Awareness, more consciousness. This is where you're headed. The things you have always wanted in your life are coming for you if you align to recovery in the way that I'm thinking and that I think we're thinking about recovery. So that doubt or not knowing where you're going and that it's really worth it is going to undermine your efforts eventually. And there are many, many other things that we could speak about that create that sense of resistance. Abhyasa, wholehearted practice, consistency of practice over time, is one of the things you need. Vairagya means, essentially in the simplest language, it means letting go of the outcome. You have to practice without trying to get anywhere. Very unusual thing. That doesn't mean you don't have intention. You have to practice with all of your heart, and then you have to surrender the fruits of your practice. In Sanskrit, the word vairagya actually means colorless. Colorless. And what they mean by that is without preference, without color. It means that your mind is not seeking more pleasure or trying to avoid pain. So it's colorless. It's without all of its preferences and all of its stories about what it wants. Instead, you just dedicate your whole heart to the practice itself, and then you let go. That's all you need. Simple. That's all the simple thing you need. Now, it's obviously, it is simple, but it's extremely difficult. Why? Because we have this thing called programming, conditioning, entrainment. And we're working so hard in our recovery, we don't realize that necessarily unless you have the Recovery 2.0 sort of languaging and perspective on things, or the yogic perspective on things, which is to say, you might just think, well, I just don't want to fight against addiction anymore. And that's great. And if you stay long enough in recovery, you're going to recognize like your addiction isn't to a substance. Like that was never really the problem. Now you're in the same problem that all human beings are in. And you're going to have to address that. And the mind will resist in the ways that we've been speaking about. So 2 things you need on the path: abhyasa, vairagya, wholehearted practice consistent over time, and let go of the results. Let go. Surrender. Last piece of this, and then we'll close for the evening. Whenever anybody achieves a new level of consciousness, steps up to a new level of consciousness, whenever that happens for anybody, there's naturally a fluctuation. Always. It doesn't crystallize right away. You have to practice. So the fluctuation might be mental musing about relapse, or reverting back to old behavior, emotionally, attachments at the level of thought and emotion, as we've been speaking about. So it creates a fluctuation. I've seen the new consciousness. I've seen what I've felt my way into recovery. It's very good. And we would think, oh, well, now that we know it's very good and we've seen it, what's the problem? Why would we have a problem with this? Because that's the way that's the way human beings operate. Very, very rarely does someone achieve a new level of consciousness and just stay there. So you have to understand and recognize in yourself, like, there's this human tendency to take a step back sometimes and review where you've come from. And that fluctuation takes place. So in order to fight that, you have to keep putting yourself in the new consciousness over and over again, more than you put yourself in the old consciousness. So when we speak about, this is going to sound like a little tangent, but it's relevant. When we speak about Christ consciousness, or you speak about unity consciousness, or the place where everything integrates, the place where everything comes together, where there's a union, that's nothing more than a state of consciousness where you can perceive the union of all things. The tendency is to fluctuate from that state back into separation. It sounds like, yeah, but. Yeah, but. You understand? You've seen it with your own eyes. You've felt it in the cells of your body. But, there's too much evidence to the contrary. And down you go. You expose yourself to other people's opinions who don't have that same understanding from that level of consciousness. In the plainest terms, I'm 30 days sober from X, Y, and Z. Let's say it's cannabis. I'm 30 days off of cannabis. Great. I go into the local dispensary where I used to buy cannabis, but I'm not there for that anymore. And I start having some conversations with the people there. So I've seen the new level of I'm abstinent 30 days. And by the way, I've liked it. I like this feeling of I wake up in the morning, I'm not coughing. I feel a little more clear. I'm starting to get my energy back. Wow. I'm able to complete tasks. Well, I go into the dispensary and I start hearing all the justification, all the story. I hear from the people in the level of consciousness where smoking cannabis is justified and correct. Are they wrong? No. They're exactly right for this consciousness. Problem is I tasted the new consciousness. I'm not solidified there yet. So now I come back and I sort of hear from the old opinions, and right down the pipe, I go, no pun intended, I go right back down. I'm there. Why? I'm vulnerable to the energy of other people in different levels of consciousness. The way that Guru Prem put it to me, consciousness is contagious. So as we are developing as people in a state of recovery, like if you go home and you say to someone who doesn't understand, someone in your family who has no experience with yoga, no experience with moving energy through the body, and you say to them, wow, I'm feeling so much better. And they say to you, wow, what have you been doing? And you say, well, I started this practice of breath of fire. I'm doing 3 minutes of breath of fire every day. It has really changed my life. And they just are like, wow, this person's really lost the plot. They've lost their mind. They're off on some kind of tangent. And they start telling you about their way of seeing things. And if you're not solid in your breath of fire sort of understanding of where this is going and how that is actually working and making a big difference in your life, down you come. It also works in the other direction. You put yourself around teachers and teachings, people who have been there, people who have a sadhana practice, people who are examples of victory. You will be pulled up. You will be drawn up into their level of consciousness. You will gain confidence in the path you've chosen. This is why community is so critically important. This is why we emphasize that. And very soon, on August 1st, you guys listen, we're launching our new app, our only app, our first app to the world, August 1st. You're going to be invited. Why am I doing an app? Because it allows you to find each other. It really, really, really allows you to find each other. And that's why we're doing it. You'll also be able to access teachers and teachings and all kinds of stuff on there. But for me, if you want to ask me what it is, community, community, community. That's what it's about. And so I hope you'll come and join and try that and let us know what works and what can be improved. And anyway, so this is on the topic of crystallizing yourself at a new level of consciousness, moving beyond your resistance through abhyasa and vairagya, and then reinforcing through practice, wholehearted practice, reinforcing. And what's the most strong thing you can do? In my opinion, surround yourself with other people in an immersive environment over a series of days. At Recovery 2.0, we call that a retreat. Get into the room with a bunch of people that are working from 6 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. for 7 days straight, and you better believe it'll change your life. And I know that half of you have been on those retreats with us, and you know what I'm talking about. The immersive experience is where you can make leaps and bounds and really start to solidify yourself with a community at that next level. Anybody can move beyond their own resistance, but I haven't known anybody who does it by themselves. And I haven't known anybody that does it without a good teacher or instruction or something or somebody to inspire them. We all seem to need that. All right. How is that?
I so much appreciate everything that you've said and just this space. And yes, yeah, I will let us wrap up, but it definitely the self-doubt and my own resistance to myself, I think it really, really is. I know that, but I just don't know how to make that next move. But again, it's so much in here. So, yes, I could talk forever, but yes, thank you so much for addressing all of that and taking my question and going over. So I so much appreciate it and this
My
space.
pleasure. My absolute pleasure, Katya. I'm so glad you're here. And thank you for this very important inquiry, because everyone here faces their own resistance every day. And please come and practice with us in the mornings or anytime. And just welcome aboard. I'm so glad you're here.